Some other analogies that your husband might appreciate is if he is a truck driver. Say, you know what? You know, if you want your diesel truck to really run well, you need to warm that puppy up. Or you can think of sex as like a light bulb for men or an electric iron for women. Both analogies help them to understand how different we are. Now, as I read a number of sex manuals, they use the analogy of comparing sex to food. And they said, just like you need a balanced food diet of the appropriate foods in order to remain healthy, you need to have a balanced sexual diet. And they said there were 3 types of sexual food. First one being quickies, or fast food sex. Second, main course meals. And third, buffet and s'more. So let's talk about each one. Fast food would be like a microwaved, a quick treat, easy to prepare, perhaps late at night, early in the morning. You're both tired, you don't have a lot of time, but you can have a quickie, a fast expression of love. Now, just like normal food, I can't expect my husband to live on burgers and fries, KFC, fast food all the time, nor can I. But there are times when I've worked late and I didn't have time to cook something, boom, Kentucky Fried Chicken, supper is served. So it is nourishing, it does fit the bill, but it doesn't always have to take a long time. As I talk to hundreds of ladies, the most common reason that they give me as to why they don't want sex is that they are, I can hear you shouting, tired. That's right. But often after a long day, the last thing that's on their to-do list is, having to warm up the crock pot and have another lovemaking session. And so this is where this quickie sex can really fit the bill. You know what it's like, gals. Your husband approaches you. You know the little signs when he's wanting to be intimate. And, you're tired, and you think, oh my gosh. And you turn him down. So then you roll over, and you feel guilty. You feel like you're disappointing him, and you feel bad. He rolls over, and he feels, oh man, I was really in the mood. I'm so disappointed, and sometimes even angry. Not a win-win situation. But after I was married for a while, I began to realize that most sexual encounters can be over in 3 to 5 minutes. And so when I began to ask myself, when I was tired, can I muster up another 3 to 5 minutes worth of energy? And most often, the answer was yes. So instead of turning Simon down, I could say, dear, I am tired. I do not want a marathon love night. However, give me your best stuff. Let's go. We got 3 to 5 minutes. Now, when I say that doesn't mean I lay there like a dead fish. Okay, 3 to 5 minutes. Go. Hurry up. Do your thing. No. I can get into it. I can approach the 3 to 5 minutes with zest, and it can be a meaningful connection in a short period of time. And you know what helped me understand that these short encounters can be very meaningful is when we had our son. And sometimes he would come bounding in from playing outside, jump up on my lap, give me a quick hug and kiss, and just as fast he was back out riding his bike. Now, I didn't say to James, oh, James, that wasn't appropriate. You needed to talk to me first. You needed to, have a longer encounter to let me know that you loved me. No, that quick expression of love was meaningful, and I appreciated it. So, it's the same with our mates. Sometimes a short, quick, to the point expression of love, it works for both of us. Now, oftentimes ladies will say, well, then are you insinuating that you make love when you're not in the mood? And I say, yeah. There are some times that it wasn't my idea, and the stars aren't falling from the sky. It's a magical moment. But they say, well, aren't you being a hypocrite? Aren't you being phony? You're just pretending? No. Because there's lots of things I do for Simon that I don't always feel like doing. Do you always feel like cooking supper? Do you feel like picking up his socks at the side of the bed or doing laundry? Or does he always feel like warming up the car in the wintertime and going to work to provide for the family? You know, there are some things in life, gals, we have to do when we don't necessarily always feel about it, feel great about it. No, lots of times I do, but on the times that I don't, I have to remind myself that love is an act of the will. It is a verb. You choose to love. You choose to have some form of an expression. So no, I don't think I'm hypocritical. I don't think that I'm out of line at all. The Bible further says in 1 Corinthians 7:3, the husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise, the wife to her husband. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to his husband. In the same way, the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to his wife. I love what Dr. Laura says. She calls it a loving obligation. And on some nights, that is the case. But you know what? There are a lot of gifts that I would love to give Simon, but I just don't have the money. But you know what? When I began to change my thoughts, there was one gift that I could give to Simon that he never got tired of opening. Voila, me. And so I lovingly chose to give the gift of my body to Simon in that moment, and of course, likewise, him with me. Luke 6:38 says, give, and it will be given to you. And Proverbs says that when you water someone else, you always end up getting a blessing yourself. And how true. On the evenings when sometimes I've just taken it up a notch and I've decided to engage in a quick sexual encounter, I always feel blessed myself and wonder why I was hesitating. So, fast food sex can be a very meaningful part of a sexual relationship. I remember one man who talked to me about the fact that when he was continually turned down, the effect that it had on him. Let me read what he had to say. He said, imagine that I'm handicapped and I'm unable to feed myself. I'm totally dependent on my wife to provide the much needed nourishment I require. I ask her once for food and she says, oh, I'll get it later. I ask her twice and she says, not in the mood. 4, 5, 6 times I make a request, and after a lengthy wait, she grunts with an exasperated tone and said, why are you always bugging me for food? Is that all you think about? Sometimes it's been days, weeks, or months since she has fed me, and by the time she begrudgingly throws me a few scraps of food, I have had to beg, grovel, and incessantly nag. I feel angry, demeaned, desperate, and insecure. Believe me, I feel so unloved and uncared for, and I'm in no mood to meet any of her needs or to talk or to share feelings. Crabby, withdrawn, depressed, and totally unresponsive would certainly describe my feelings. I'm royally ticked. Nothing corrodes my self-esteem and sense of self-worth more than my wife's continual rejections of my request for food and sexual neglect. I'm so hurt. She doesn't want to feed me, and I'm crumbling inside. The man further said, that's exactly how I feel about my sex life. I need sexual food. If I could get it elsewhere, I would. But I'm a man of integrity, and I will honor my sacred wedding vows. I need to connect with my wife physically, emotionally, and spiritually through our regular lovemaking, lamented this sex-starved husband in a furious tone. Yes, many women complain that their husbands are always hungry for sex. But if your husband is always after you, when was the last time you said yes? Said one man. Many women put their husbands on such a meager or strict sexual diet and occasionally throw them a frozen dinner. And as you know, when you skip a meal repeatedly, you're hungrier for the next one. If our wives would give us a frequent snack, we wouldn't be so hungry for the main course meals. Yes, at times we do appear to be desperate, and it's not a nice feeling. We are men with legitimate sexual needs, not celibate eunuchs, stated another angry husband. As one lady said, remarkably, the more energy and focus I put into this area of our marriage, the happier I became. It wasn't just all about him. It was a mutual love affair. I felt energized, appreciated, and revitalized. So when I heard that man give that expression, I thought, oh, sometimes that's maybe what's happened with Simon, is that I am not choosing to give him sexual food, and I need to rethink, and perhaps the quickie is going to help me in those times when I am tired, or perhaps maybe not in the mood. Then, secondly, main course meals. Now, this is when you're not in a hurry, when you're not tired. You set the table. You have perhaps appropriate nightwear. You have lingerie, other things that will help with the ambience of the expression. But it's not like, let's gulp the food down. And so we need that as part of our sexual diet as well. We need to remember that the act of cleaving, remember when God was talking to Adam about to leave, cleave? The act of cleaving is a spiritual act. And that was another thing I had to change in my brain, is that this wasn't just about two bodies connecting. This was also, I was actively cleaving to my husband, as is stated in Genesis 2:24. And the word cleaving in the original Hebrew means to be welded inseparably together, to be cemented together, as in a strong tie, not with some mamby-pamby little ribbons, but to be welded together. So when I began to see our lovemaking, it's not just, a gymnastic act, two bodies. No, this was a spiritual act, that I was cleaving to the man that God gave me, and vice versa. Lastly, smorgasbord or buffet sex. Now, obviously, just like in the natural, we can't live on the buffet line, or we would look like a very large person. But once in a while, your husband might say, come on, dear, I'm taking you out for a buffet dinner. Let's go. And you're not in a hurry. And you don't say to the waitress, hurry up, give me a drink, appetizer, main course meals, dessert, hurry, and our bill. No. You go and you have your appetizer, and you perhaps bring it back to your table, and you chat, and then you go back for your main course meals, and then leisurely desserts and coffee. It is a drawn-out affair that is really appropriate. And so once in a while, you will have smorgasbord sex. And maybe the kids are at grandma's for the weekend, or it's an anniversary, or you've booked a hotel, or you just have some extra time on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday morning or whenever. And so you want to have long, luxurious enjoyment together. Now, as I told you, Simon and I we were both virgins when we got married, so we had no experience. And I really didn't know, as I told you, a lot about how Simon was wired, and he didn't know about me. And so as we began to share, we started having what we called his and her nights. And on a her night, I was calling the shots. I was saying to Simon, this is what I want to do. This is where I want you to touch me. This is how I want this to happen. And he was saying, Ruth, this is all about you. He knew I was a school teacher, so he said, let's play show and tell. And he said, I want to be so sensitive, you just tell me what you'd like to do. And I so appreciated that, because I felt that when I was expressing my feelings, I wasn't being demanding, I wasn't complaining, he was asking. Likewise, when it was his night, I said to Simon, teach me about your body. What things turns you on? What things can help you bring arousal more effectively? And again, it was such a learning session for me, which I really appreciated. Because you can read things in books, but your husband doesn't always fit exactly what's being spoken about in the book. And so these his and her nights, of course, they can't happen on a quickie night. But when you have a smorgasbord, a special event once in a while, these were very meaningful interactions between the two of us, where we both got to share without feeling guilty or feeling like we were being demanding, but that we could give some positive suggestions. And we both said if either of us asked us to do something we weren't quite comfortable with, we said, let's take a baby step in that direction. Of course, you want to reject the action, not the person, and say, what kind of a pervert are you to ask me to do that? No, you don't want to say that. But hey, let's explore that. Let's do that slowly. But that happened during what I'm referring to as smorgasbord sex. I like what Dr. Ed Wheat says. Every sexual union should be a contest to see which partner can outplease the other. Now again, girls, you start putting that data in your computer. Change your thoughts that each time we get together, it's a contest to outplease each other. That's going to change your attitude significantly, and it certainly did mine. So girls, you don't like to cook up the same meal every night. Even if you had the world's best spaghetti, your husband would get tired of it after 54 nights in a row of spaghetti, or same with you. You would hate eating, shepherd's pie for 3 months in a row. So it's the same with our sexual diet. We need to cook up different meals, sexual meals, be creative, new locations, different positions, creative ambience. The sky's the limit. With food, eye appeal is important in the presentation. It works with sex as well. Most of us weren't born great cooks, particularly me. I'm not a good cook. My husband definitely is. But you know what? We had to learn. And so, no frozen dinners, no hungry man in our house. Let's just give them some good, nourishing, balanced sexual diets of quickies, main course meals, and fast foods.